Here we are, the highly anticipated, at least by me, last installment of my corpse bride costume. How I partially made the skeleton arm and blue arm piece, as well as her Maggot. I picked up both a black and white pair of leggings that specifically had a cutout in the sleeve for a thumb. I cut them both approximately down the middle and sewed them together, waist sides together. When it was on, it looked like this. So far, so great. Then it was time to dye, which is exactly when this entire project died. I used the same dye bath for the dress as I did for this, but sadly didn't take it into account what material these leggings were made from. So they took way too dark way too quickly. So I end up having to, as you may know, having to paint my arm instead. Had these not taken too dark, I would have just worn the full piece. So pretending I did, and these did work. Now throwback to the 100 pieces of lace that I also did. Then I washed them all out until the warm and cold water ran clear. I regretted it immediately as soon as I realized how dark these were going to be. But I digress. Now it's time for the paint job.
You can't really see it, but it's going to go all the way down.
Peep Thing in the background before I made him into Thing.
Let's play a fun little game. Which fabric markers show up on black? Because I don't know where my chalk is. That kind of does. Definitely not black. Oddly enough, only pink does. When it's down here, I don't want it to be like ripping. So I'm gonna give it as much slack as possible. Then have it up here where it will connect to here. Yes, I'm aware that this did not die evenly, but she's dead, so I think skin color is kind of relative here. It's going to be going down this portion of the arm so you can actually see it. Because obviously I can't do it from every single angle, so I want to do it from the most visible one. And obviously where my actual bones connect.
Finally mapping out the approximate bone edge.
Oh, that is unfortunate. I mean, I can kind of see it, but not really. I got bags for days. Ah! Okay. So I actually want to do something a little bit funky with this, let's say. Got these two. I don't know how this is going to react, but this is a white, so I'm hoping that's for the bone color, and then this is a glow in the dark. And I am doing about half and half. And then mixing.
Yes, this would have been less streaky and taken less time to dry if I just used a white fabric paint straight on, but I wanted the option of it to glow, like in the dark, at least a little bit.
Step 1. And done.
And to add the proper bone structure, I place my arm and hand back. I placed my arm and hand back in it because the paint was still a little bit wet and I would be adding more on. I put an old bagel bag between my hand and the fabric as almost a barrier. And then continue on with the paint job. Off camera, I did end up using some O-rings as well as hot glue that I added the actual moving finger parts to, which, if it had been executed properly, would have worked out very well. But the idea was a beauty. Then it was time for a certain wormy looking friend. I brought up a reference photo, as I do, and started shaping out its body. Being a maggot, this was very, very easily.
Oh my god.
If you didn't catch that, I was using tin foil to bulk out its body. Foil makes pieces light and bulky, as again, my idea was different than the final execution, but my Maggot friend was originally supposed to be coming out of my face hole. The rotting one, not my mouth. But sadly, he was too heavy to fit. If I did this again, I probably would make a full prosthetic, liquid latex to start, shorter and thinner wire, plus foil crumpled together, and maybe it would work. But I still wanted to make him a part of the process and the final product.
I mean, I know this looks very, let's say sperm looking, a little spermy, but technically sperms kind of just look like worms anyway. Sperm worm kind of makes sense. Okay. Everything is fine. We're fine.
I did a couple tries to get the proportions the way that I would want them anyways.
Round 1. Fight!
Quickly decided against that. Also decided on his head being as heavy as it was. I don't want it to be as top heavy, you know? But now it's pretty much got glue all over it, so...
Round 2. Fight!
Okay, round 2. Still looking a little spermy.
And then I added polymer clay, but decided air dry would be my best option.
Round 3. Fight!
Okay, final decision. No bulk of the head at all, but I am going to take some more air dry clay.
Polymer clay is good for more detail, but it is heavier and the Maggot isn't big on detail. Finally, I had the shape, the weight, and the size that I wanted.
I think that looks much better.
It was time to get the features going, which was a process. Again, with air dry clay, it's harder to get details, especially with something so small.
Although I am inclined to add more features. His face is a little bit flat, but it has that little curve up on the side, or on the top. And then the lips. Okay, his nose does protrude just a little bit in a triangular fashion. Ah! Ugh. Oh, it's actually a lot harder to put these on than I thought it was going to be. And it's smaller. I finally get it on, which sounds weird. And it's too big, which sounds even funnier. I feel like the people who did surgery on a grate. Smaller. It's kind of starting to look like the Beetlejuice worm, or like sandworm. Yeah, that's good and that's good. I'm going to wait for all of these to dry down separately, which honestly I probably should have done with the teeth, now that I think about it, but you wouldn't see me lose some. And then I'm gonna glue it afterwards. Yeah. But I do want to add some texture.
Aside from his actual facial features, the rest of his body is incredibly simple. I just took the more dull side of my utility knife, I guess, and just went around and around every couple of centimeters to make the kind of wedges in his body.
Alright, now we wait. And we're dry.
Once I had them though, it was time for the final steps. Painting and sealing. For starters, I painted him with an almost acid green everywhere except his mouth and eye area. Keeping the eyes separate, I painted those white.
These are already fairly white. I do want to add like an actual white coat onto them because they are.
with a smidgen of black for the pupil, and then all black in the open mouth. A very darkened purple pink for the eye socket.
That looks honestly terrifying right now. Trust the process.
And then a final white for the teeth. And the paint that was left over from the eyes, I added even more pink to it and added that onto the lips. For the indents in his body, I simply used a very watered down, darker green color to put in the nooks and crannies. Now don't ask me what happened to the footage of what I'm about to tell you next, but let me talk you through it. For the rest of the job, I have simply added on a darker wash of the same color to said object, aka our little mega friend, and splashing that onto the bottom portion of him. This is going to give the color the ability to get into all the nooks and crannies, to give the piece more dimension, adding shadows where he is a little bit more bendable. Once the watered down paint is on there, I take a paper towel or toilet paper or reusable cloth and dab it off. Now, said object has the original base color, and even further, once everything was dry, I simply added the eyes into the sockets and finaled him off with a coat of resin to seal it all in. And here's the entire project in action. Hope you guys enjoyed this video and I'll see you in my next one. And I apologize about my voice, I'm clearly very sick, but I wanted to get this out. Bye.
Let me get my bones in order. I think the fuckers got me. The things I do for the YouTube.
Welcome to the Sara Show! Got it, dude. There's a train coming now, too.
So?
Just letting you know it's gonna get incredibly loud. The tracks are right there.
Oh. Fun!